There's a pricing concept out there called value-based pricing. You've probably seen videos about it on YouTube. And I think for 95% of creative people, especially filmmakers and videographers, is completely wrong. It's the wrong approach to pricing. So let me explain why, and then I'll share with you what I do instead. I think it's a lot easier for a lot of us to understand. Now, here's the concept behind value-based pricing if you haven't heard of it before. You're basically trying to figure out how much someone is willing to pay for your services, right? A lot of us have to figure that out at some point if we're offering video or any kind of creative service. Now, the way to go about it in value-based pricing is figuring out how much that video is worth to that person or to that company. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. I think it'll make more sense. Let's say I'm trying to make a commercial for a hotel. And let's say I get to have a conversation with the chief marketing officer of that hotel. Basically, the person in charge of making marketing decisions like hiring someone to create a video. And let's say it's a big hotel chain. First, you're going to ask someone in this value-based pricing model, how much is a new customer worth to them? You'll directly ask them that question. And let's assume they know the answer and they tell you $2,000. Now, this is what a new customer will spend with that hotel, let's say in the lifetime of that customer, and they're going to be a new customer. They're going to come in because of our video, okay? Then I'm going to say, is it reasonable for my video to get you 100 new customers? I just came up with that number, right? And let's assume they say yes to that, that's reasonable. Then I would say something like, okay, so the value of a customer is $2,000. I'm gonna get you 100. If you multiply that, that's $200,000, which is the value I'm bringing to your service with my video commercial. So then from there, I come up with the price of my video, and it's usually 10 to 20% of the value that I create for that business, in this case, that hotel. So then again, if you do the math, $20,000 to $40,000 is the price, which is 10 to 20% of the $200,000, right? And now all that really sounds great, but let me explain the flaws with this concept and why in the real world, I just have never seen it work with almost everyone that tries it, okay? First of all, two things happens in reality when you ask someone what the value of the customer, especially the lifetime value of a new customer, is for their businesses. A lot of us, when we were starting out, we were working with small business. They don't understand the lifetime value yet of a customer anyway. They understand, hey, if someone came to my restaurant and they ate, maybe the bill for the family is $100. But they don't understand, well, in the lifetime, are they coming back 20 times, 50 times what? They don't know the answer to that. So they're going to be confused with small businesses a lot of times when we talk about this. So they'll just say nothing. And then the conversation kind of stops right there. Now with medium and larger companies, right, they almost always know this answer. But an executive on a phone call with a stranger like you, they'll never share that information. Why would they tell you their internal business operation, right? You might be a spy for a competitor. In reality, I've not seen this go very well. We're like, hey, what's the lifetime value of a customer worth to you so I could figure out how much I'm going to charge you? It just becomes an extremely awkward conversation. And most of us are creative people, right? To pretend like we understand business operation at that level, it just never comes off naturally. I've literally seen when people try this, the executive on the other side basically end the phone call, right? Because they're like, I just asked you how much the video is. Why are we trying to get into my business? You're talking to the chief marketing officer, sometimes the CEO of a company, right? When I was doing this, I was like 29 years old. I've only been making videos for 5-6 years, knew nothing about business, and to try to pretend I know business to this level, to talk about lifetime value and to try to basically see how much my video is worth to them and getting to those numbers doesn't make any sense. And I also made a bunch of assumptions, right? I said, hey, my ad will get you 100 new customers. Well, how do I know that, right? They're responsible for the ad spend. They're responsible for putting that ad in the right place, maybe the right place, prominent place on their website. They're responsible for all the eyeballs on the video. I'm just making the video. Then I'm handing off the video. I've done this lots of times in the past where they just throw up on YouTube, gets like 47 views and that's it. Okay? So if I just said all the things I said previously, then I'm the liar, right? I did not follow through with any of the things because I just came up with those numbers because I watched a video on it, right? So how can I pretend that I know what the results are going to be? That completely depends on their marketing effort and how they push the video. Then in this example, I said, give me 10 to 20% of the value I created for you. But how do I know what kind of business they are and what their profit margin is? A lot of times in hotel and restaurant business, it's like 10, 20%. Well, I'm asking them to pay me $40,000, $20,000, $40,000. But if they're working in a margin that is 10 to 20% from their revenue, they're also only making $20,000 to $40,000 in profit. So why would they give me that to land those type of customers? That doesn't make any sense for their business model. Am I supposed to understand every business model, the profit margins to every business model, have these conversations with every person that works in a different industry? No, I'm not. That doesn't make sense for most of us, right? So this is the situation where this makes a lot more sense to the 5% of people, and 95% of us should not touch this business model or this pricing model. Now, there is a situation where everything I talked about right now with value-based pricing makes sense. But I think for people watching this video, it's about 5% of us that should ever attempt this, especially in the first 10 years of our career, even 20 years of our career, honestly. Okay, so for 95% of us, let me explain what I recommend and what I personally do instead. The way I like to think of value-based pricing, especially for filmmakers and videographers, is a model called increasing the perceived value. I basically create an offer around my video that looks very enticing to a potential client. Basically, my video package will not just have one deliverable like an ad or a marketing video. I will give them everything they need to run a successful marketing campaign. So that's basically a commercial that they could use on their website, but I'll also give them short format ads they could run on YouTube and other platforms. I may give them vertical videos. I may give them organic content. I may hire a photographer. I create a very customized package that has a way higher increased value than where everyone else is competing, which, hey, I'll make you a marketing video, right? This all comes to the same amount of production typically, except if I hire a photographer, for example, but my cost doesn't increase all that much, but the perceived value goes through the roof. It's a whole different league, right? So when I compete, I'm not competing with pretty much everyone else that's offering a video package. I'm offering a video marketing solution, an entire bundle, right? A whole different perceived value for that client. Now, how do I price this package? Well, I priced it based on what it costs me as a company, including my time to create a video, and I add a healthy profit margin to that. So for example, let's say this video package was going to cost me $10,000, including my time, everyone I hire, my overhead. What I do on top of that $10,000 is I add a profit margin, in a lot of cases 25%. So it would be $12,500. Where did I come up with 25%? Well, I've been in this world for a long time, in the world of video production, marketing, advertising. Typically, those companies run on a profit margin. It's usually 20% on the low end and 50% on the high end. Okay, so you decide where your profit margin is depending on your experience, depending on how competitive the market around you is. That's how you make money, even if you're doing everything yourself, right? And even if your cost is lower, you still need to think of this profit margin, because that will turn you into an actual company that you could grow and you could free yourself from day-to-day operation down the road, okay? Now, I have a different pricing video on my channel, so I'll go ahead and link that below so you could dive deeper to see exactly how I price videos. Now, back to the value pricing model. Where does it make sense to try the value-based pricing model that I showed you in the beginning of the video? I think value-based pricing makes a lot of sense when you're willing to handle all aspects of the video marketing campaign, not just making the video. I would have no problem telling someone I could get them 100 customers, generate $200,000 in revenue for their business if I knew I could, or at least if I was in charge of all the steps required to get that done. There's no way that I know I could do that if I'm just making the video. Even if I make the best video in the world, it's up to them what happens after that. But if I made the video, then I ran the ad campaign, I measured results and optimized, then I could actually make some kind of a promise like that. This is exactly what a marketing agency is. So if you implement this kind of value-based pricing, you are now beyond a filmmaker, videographer, video production company. You are now a marketing agency. And marketing agencies have a different pricing model that uses value-based pricing, but it's based on retainers. Most ad agencies and marketing agencies charge somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 per month, okay? And they use exactly this formula. Now, they may not use video to land clients, but it's all based on the value-based pricing and the value model. They are going to provide your business a value. For $10K a month, I better be providing the client enough value for them to stay with me, right? Maybe their retainer runs out every 3 months. Are they going to continue with me? Well, I better have shown them the return on their investment, right? So I have an incentive now to make their marketing campaign work. I need to make sure their video ads perform, or I need to keep changing them, right? The reason why I mentioned this is not good for 95% of us is because most of us are creative people. We want to make great videos. That's what we want to do for a living, right? Some of us want to run successful production companies, but very few people want to run a full-blown marketing agency. There is so much more overhead, so much more knowledge, so much more experience that you need to have. It takes a really long time to actually run a marketing company that could drive results. That's why you see most people talking about this form of value-based pricing in the later stage of their career, right? When I was 29, and if I watched a video like that and I started doing that, it was laughable to who I was talking to. It was converting at 0%. It didn't make any sense for me to be doing that before I understood all the layers of how I actually deliver value to a client and do all the steps, right? So once you understand a whole lot about business, especially when you really go deep into one type of business and really understand the lifetime value of a customer, really understand those numbers, really understand how you're driving value with your video, then you could think about this, okay? Now, I'm personally a lot more business oriented than a lot of people in video production, and I still really don't like this format because it makes you an entirely someone else, something else, okay? And that's why I use the perceived value model instead of the value-based pricing that I explained in the beginning. So to make that model work, you also need a couple of things to set up correctly. The big thing is your offer. Then you need to actually understand pricing, having a healthy profit margin that could actually give your business fuel to grow. And you also understand the sales process and the fulfillment process too. And if you haven't watched my training on my website, I do break all that down in a 1-hour free training. I'll link below as well. Let me know what else I could do to help you grow your video business or get more clients in the comment section so I can make follow-up videos that are more relevant, and I'll see you next time.